Good evening and welcome to the third and final round of our very short GT4 Winter Series. We are here at a very dry Monza, which I think is something that Tom does not really enjoy because he thought it would be really much wet, but I think the drivers will prefer it this way. We don't have quite as many cars as the last 2 weeks. We're only 36 at the moment, but still we have a few very close point battles for the championship wins and the top threes, and it's Monza, so we know what's gonna happen. I'm here with Phil again. Hello, Phil.
Hi, Stewie. Yes, so and this is the second race for RCI on the 2022 calendar. We've obviously had the 2-hour race at Bathurst on New Year's Day. I think that's all we've had so far. We've had a few pre-qualies for a few other championships. Yeah, I did have a word with Tom before the start of the race, and I think this is just usual Tom Bryant weather. He says it's going to rain and it's dry, and he says it's going to be dry and it rains. So, yeah, I'm expecting there to be a bit of randomness over today. So, whatever we have at the minute may not necessarily be what we have for qualifying or the race. The 40-minute race today, we've had the last two rounds have been two 20-minute races. Finale, we have one big long 40-minute race. I don't think there's any pit stop requirements. I'll have to check. These cars can certainly do 40 minutes on a single tank. Yeah. Who you looking out for, Stewie, for this race?
I mean, we've talked a bit before about who of these people still have a chance to win the championship, and these will definitely be the ones that I'll be looking on, like who's gonna win and stuff. I definitely know who I don't enjoy looking at, and that is this really brown livery from Mike Noble. And if I'm not mistaken, I think he has shared his livery again, or at least people have asked him to share his livery. So sure, we might have a few more of these disgusting cars on the track. This one actually looking quite nice here from Christoph Verstappen. We have a few drivers who are still in the fight for the championship win or the top three in Silver and Pro who are not here today.
Oh,
But in general, most of the top runners are here, so we're gonna have a very interesting race. And yeah, I'm really curious how turn one will turn out today because now they all have the same cars, so they, in theory, all have the same braking distance, which I guess should mean that it's safer, but 35 cars, I'm not sure. I mean, this is the setup for a good race restart because people didn't even make it to turn one. But we'll see about that.
I'd agree, Stewie. I was going to say about these BMWs. Somebody in the chat was pointing out, is the BMW supposed to feel like I'm driving a bus? Well, I'm sorry, mate, but they do. They're incredibly understeery cars, and they have a braking distance about twice the length of a normal car. Sometimes it feels like. So it'd be interesting going down to turn one with these BMWs, obviously, because they're probably one of the fastest in a straight line, I think. And yeah, they're not known to stop very fast. But,
The,
I think.
yeah, the BMW GT4 and Monza is, I think, one of the only 2 or 3 track and car combinations I did in GT4s. And I quite enjoyed it here because you could just jump over all the curbs. I don't know if you can do the same with other GT4s because I haven't driven them, but with this one you can definitely just speed over most of these curbs, especially in the chicanes. And that was quite fun. So I think the track and car combination is it suits the car quite well, I suppose, compared to maybe other tracks.
Yeah, I tend to agree with that. BMW is probably one of the heaviest cars in the GT4 category, along with, say, the Chevrolet Camaro. I'd say a majority of them you could take most of the curbs in. Certainly, like I said, the BMW and the Chevrolet. Something a bit smaller, like say the Ginetta or the Alpine or the KTM. Two of those cars, and the the KTM and the Ginetta we have seen this season so far. They're a bit too light to go for the curbs. They're a bit sensitive when they go over them. And in the Alpine's case, some of the curbs are like half the size of it. It feels like so. It's I mean because of their ride heights, these cars tend to be a bit more and less aero-dependent cars. Yeah. Technical
Okay,
issues.
I thought my PC crashed, but that was only the game freezing for a very long time when switching the session. Sting?
Sorry, lost my train of thought. Sorry. But yeah. So because these cars are not very aero-dependent, but they have a higher ride height as well. They tend not to be too concerned about curbs. We see Tom Bryant negotiating the polystyrene boards. I think has he hit one? Oh, there's a bit of a mess there. Someone's left some toys on the track there. I noticed.
Not quite sure what he's doing. Did he just miss his brakes and didn't want to completely cut the chicane? Like, it didn't look, I mean, it doesn't look like he wanted to let, who's that behind him, Duet by, so I guess he just missed his brakes coming out of the pit box, but he will be leading the first qualifying lap, which is nice, because then you can talk over a lap of Tom Bryant driving.
Yeah, so I think it's something that happens a lot. Like, I've certainly done it, and I think everyone who's probably listening to this has done it before, where they come out of Monza pits, and usually you brake just before the 150 marker in a GT3. In these cars, will probably be braking halfway between the 200 and the 150 boards, but usually you think, oh, I can just go up to the 100, and you do that, and then you just end up realizing before it's too late, oh, I've ruined it. Anyway, I thought Tom wasn't qualifying for these sessions, so I'm a bit puzzled what he's doing at the minute.
Maybe he just wants to be on camera.
Maybe he does. And then I noticed, I think there's another car, a triple R car in the distance just behind him. Either that's Daly or Jake Boswell.
Daly.
I think it's Daly, though. Here we go, ready for a lap of Monza. Just coming out of the Parabolica now. We're going to move over to the right-hand side just about, or we're supposed to, but Tom Bryant obviously doesn't. Then we move over to the left for the first corner, or the first chicane, should I say, as we go past the pit lane exit. Looking for that 150 mark. Could brake as we come into the Rettifilo chicane. Back in the early 2000s, 90s, there used to be two chicanes here, but I think like mid 2000s, 2004, 2005, they changed it to one. From our Rettifilo, now there's the Curva Grande. Follow this very long sweeping right-hander on the right-hand side. Stay right for the second chicane, the Della Rocha chicane. Look up for the little orange thing on the right-hand side. Brake down to third, second gear maybe. Take a bit of that curve and another curve as we come out. Use a bit of this. Stay left-hand side now as we come to Lesmo 1. We look out. I don't really know where braking marker is, but you can just feel it. And you want a nice late apex. Use all of this AstroTurf on the left-hand side as we come up to Lesmo 2. 50-meter board here. Down into third, second gear maybe. BMW's a bit weird. And next up, I can't even pronounce this one, bloody Italian. But yeah, this corner's got a name. Forgot what it's called. It slowly brings you over to the right-hand side as we come into the Ascari chicane. Look out for the orange marker again as we come down to like fourth, third gear here. Go over the anti-cut curve. You can do this in GT3s as well. You have to be very sensitive with the throttle as we come out. We want to touch that anti-cut curve on the left-hand side, but we don't. And then we slowly move our way back onto the left-hand side of the track. Ready for Parabolica. Parabolica is one of those late apex corners, so you want to brake quite late or early, in past the 100-meter board. Stay right as much as you can. Look out for this Marshall, and on the power we go. We'll try and use some of this exit curve on the left-hand side. Try and get a good exit, and that is a lap of Monza. Tom Bryant with a
invalid lap.
Oh, it's invalidated his lap.
Why did he even
Silly
do that?
Tom.
It must have been the exit of Ascari, right?
Parabolica, I think it was. Just
Parabolica.
about touched
Oh.
the. I think it was, yeah. But yeah, that was. I don't think I noticed anything too bad. But the usual suspects I've noticed in the top two already.
I'm curious if these guys cut the second chicane, or maybe that's just changed with 1.8, but you used to be able to take like the first left part of the chicane with the center of the car and just drive over it, and Tom took that a bit more like a E3, and these guys as well. I don't know, maybe that's just not possible anymore, but before you could just, as long as you were very central over the curb, you could just drive over it and nothing would happen, and you would gain a lot of time. Yeah, most of these guys setting a lap in the 52.5s at the moment. As you already mentioned, Phil, the usual suspects lining up at the top. And I think... I'm not sure about Boardman because he also missed a race or had a big accident, but Schwarzilo and Severt in the race for the championship here. Eraser, who we will see in the standings very shortly, still has a chance to get the P3, but at the moment it doesn't look like it's too fast, or maybe it was just his warm-up lap. He's currently on an invalid one, but he is around 1.2 seconds up on his time, so guessing we will see him a bit further up once the qualifying finishes.
I did, and keeping an eye on this track map, I did notice Tom Bryant's 42 has done another invalid lap. So I don't know if he's doing these on purpose or not. Yeah, I think Tom's maybe struggling a bit. We've only had 18 cars of the, what, 37 cars set a lap? Now, I know there's a few cars that don't set a lap on purpose, as we've seen. Usually Tom's part of this lot. So, for instance, Jordan Daly, Jesse Lee, and there's Mike Noble going backwards in the pit lane, attempting to disqualify himself. Oh, there you go. I think he's just disqualified himself. I just saw
What a
his car.
perfect timing that was, though.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. But maybe Tom's just treating this as some extra practice, Stewie, for the race.
Maybe, yeah.
But okay now, so we're on board with Mr. Eraser again, coming into the Del Roggio, the second chicane. See if he skips the curb on the left-hand side. No, I think some of these guys are probably just a bit too curb shy in these cars. I have seen it, Stewie. I know what you're talking about. You can like, if you can aim like your left-hand side tire, like to go inside the anti-cut curb as you turn left. So I have seen it before, but I think some people. I don't think the game's updated the track cuts for that, but yeah, let's just hope John manages to get a lap in this time, or at least a good lap. 2.2 seconds, just shy of 2.2 seconds off the pole time at the minute.
I didn't mean the track limits. I meant maybe physics-wise, it's not faster anymore or not possible. I'm not sure, but yeah, as you said, if the left tire is on the left side of the anti-cut curb, the car should just go over it. It's so high. Racer only half a second up at the moment. That will definitely not be enough to put him up a bit here, as he's gaining a lot of time in Parabolica. In a bit, he's 9/10 up now with his P11 just at the back of the refilled field, at least the ones that are actually setting laps. I think Killian is also just doing laps and then invalidating them at the end. Seeing the big field of DSQs there at the bottom. Jesse this time actually not using the time to do a bit more practice. Maybe he joined early enough today to actually get the laps and the practice in.
Maybe. So, Stewie, I got a question for you then. Now, obviously everyone wants to start in pole position, but at the same time, it may be a good idea to be near the back of the grid for Monza turn one. But where do drivers not want to be for Monza turn one? Or where would your least favorite range of positions be? Say on the
P5 to
grid,
10.
P5 to 10. You don't want to be P5 or 10. Is there a reason why?
Because that's far enough in the back to be impacted by, like, usually when stuff happens, like, let's assume we have like 25 cars, which is like the usual race, I guess, like 25 to 30 cars. And when stuff happens, it mostly happens around P10 or a bit further on the back. But with P5 to P10, you're still very much in range for the cars sliding across the grass or getting pushed over the chicane, and yeah, you're getting hit without having anything to do with it. So yeah, P5 to P10.
Yeah, I go a bit later than that. Like I'd say say P15 to 20 is where I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't mind being like P5 or 10, but I see like when you're really deep in the midfield, got distracted by the Mr. Blobby car of Tom Watts against it. I think I showed you a bit. I got you to Google Mr. Blobby, a very famous children's television character from in the UK from the late 90s or mid to late 90s, and Stewie found that Nightmare Fuel from memory. But brief distraction. It's be some questionable driving.
Both
Calibration from.
both these cars on track not up on their time at the moment, so that won't change anything. So we do have Godzilla, Severt, and Boardman on P1, 2, 3 in row. Have Schulze, Jackson, and Boetier in 1, 2, 3 in silver. And in M we have Maschalek, Richter, and Watts. And oh, never mind, Martin de Bond is here. I was just curious where he was. Yeah, this is our qualifying standings, and we'll have a look at the standings, but I don't think we'll go through all the pages today, because that clearly took a very long time last week. But we will look at the top 10. So we have Torzillo, Severt, and Chumley in 1, 2, 3. Chumley is not here today, which means if Eraser gets the 3 or better, will beat Chumley by 2 points. If he gets P3, it's actually exactly 1 point. And yeah, he's starting from P9 overall, and that is P6 in Pro. So only has to gain 3 positions to make it and get the championship overall. Then from Kowalski down, Keller, Scott, Verstappen, Samuel, and Torvinen, all of these guys, even if they win, have no shot at getting into the top 3 here for the championship. Then in silver, it's actually quite closer than it was in pro. We have Jackson, Robertson, Hilmalter on P1, 2, 3, 1 point behind Jamie Ellis, Whittier, Franken. And I think Dan Robertson isn't here today. No, Dan Robertson was here.
No, you've seen
Phil
him.
Malta isn't here today. So Ellis and Boetier both with a shot to get into P. And I think Rob Franken was also not here today. I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he isn't.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen rankings.
So yeah, Ellis, Boetier, both with a shot to get P3 in silver. And the rest of the drivers, not enough points. Get up there. And we have Amfield, where we have Tom Watts, Chalek, and Martin de Bond leading on P1, 2, 3. We have Jesse Lee on P4. And in theory, he could still get on the podium, but he would need to win M and Martin de Bond to get 0 points. So it's going to be very hard for Jesse to do that, but I think he's more than happy with a P4 in that championship. I don't think he expected to be that high. And that concludes our standings, as I'm just preparing to go on the grid, which we actually have a bit of time now, because faster.
Yeah, we skipped everyone. Sorry if you were on page 2. Just there's so many of you. And this champ.
Yeah, I think we're missing, like, with how many did we start? Around 60? 50 to 60, so we're missing quite a lot of drivers. Not sure where all of them went. They all signed out or just stopped, as my camera just doesn't want to disconnect itself from the car. There we go. But yeah, only 35 cars today, which for Monza is still plenty. And I actually don't see too many of the brown liveries, which is a good thing, I guess.
Good thing. Well, it's probably easy to tell them apart, I guess. So who's who? Yeah. So same suspects as usual at the back of the grid. The Triple R and the FFS guys with a few additions. This is it. Killing Ryan Meaning. Killing Ryan.
Like it.
Who should be back at his rig. I believe last time he was in. I don't think he was here last week, but the week before, because he had COVID, he had to stay in his bedroom, so he could only race better on a controller, and still did quite well from memory.
Guess he'll be starting from the pits.
Maybe it's legitimate strategy, Stewie. Maybe he's starting from the pit lane.
I mean, if you're at the back of the grid, you can just slow down a lot and avoid everything that's happening in front of you. I don't think you need to start from the pits here. But I think Monza is one of the tracks where starting from the pits is actually not that bad because of the very slow first corner, so you're not actually that far behind. I think he will come out of the pits before the whole field even makes it through turn 1.
Yeah, so we'll see just how messy turn 1's going to be. He's going to get involved. I don't know what our bet's going to be this week, Stu, actually, because the last 2 weeks we've had bets or something. So what do we have first? We've had who's going to crash first, who's going to spin first. I don't know what this one's going to be.
Who's going to cause T1 madness?
Is there going to be a restart, Stewie? Let's try that one. Do you think Tom Bryant's going to initiate a restart or a crash at?
Depends on if he's involved, I guess.
How cynical of you, Stewie. How dare you suggest that Tom Bryant would only restart the server?
I mean, judging by the starts of the last races, which were obviously only half the time, so maybe people didn't take it too serious, but I'd say it's definitely in the realm of possibilities here. But I think we should make the bet on who we think is going to cause some accidents in T1 or, let's say, lap 1. Again, of the drivers we know, I assume, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. There's no Ted this week. Ted's obviously back has work commitments.
Oh.
Didn't obviously have during Christmas, so Ted's not here this week. That's one.
Then I'm gonna say Daly, because he's just behind the whole M field and he's gonna misjudge how early they will brake and then cause some trouble.
I'm gonna say it's gonna be one of the two drivers on the second or third row. Is my bet for turn 1 chaos, just because gonna be some vicious moves there, Stewie, I'm gonna say.
Yeah. Gonna do the free cam thing again, so we can actually see everything that's happening. First lap.
You get that turbo on this drone this time, Stewie, they're gonna run away from you.
We are lining up quite nicely, except this one guy who's off. We are green. You're right. They're coming quite fast. No crashes yet, which I think we've seen crashes up until this point already. And
And
it's
they're trying to
still
go 4 wide back there.
looks pretty clean, but now coming into the braking zone.
Oh!
And
Oh! Oh! That was a green car that just went 3 wide in between. Not sure who the pink car and that blue and white car on is. Oh dear, there's more chaos back there as well. Oh dearie me. Well, I was actually fairly clean, and and someone else who's died there. Is that
only
Brian or
two.
is that Dane? Oh, that's Tom Bryant. He's dead.
Oh, restart.
Maybe.
With one guy off
But
here. Two
or dead.
guys off.
Is that Verstappen or Durant? Oh, don't reverse onto the track.
Guy braking quite late, but I mean, we have not a single car that's really left far behind, so that was way cleaner than I would have thought. Some minor contacts there. Even the ones in T1 weren't too bad, it's just that you spin around and then there's too many cars behind you that can't really avoid. But apart from that, it was pretty good. So maybe they will get it back in lap 2, but I think we are through the worst. Tom in the back, Lin Weinmin also in the back, who started from the pits, and he's already caught up with the field. He's only 1 second behind. Watching front of the grid here, and I think this is around the place where accident happened. What did you say? You said the front of the grid, right?
Yeah, there was. As I said, it'll be somebody on like the first between row 2 and 3, but I think it was looking at the colours. I think it was the 420 that tried to like fit into a gap, or maybe just braked a bit too late to go into a gap and make it free. Whoa! Gutierrez nearly went into the back of Jackson. Now he's going to be careful going back onto the track. I think he's okay. Oh my god, they're going 3 wide. That Noble and that's Jake Boswell punting the back of Jamie Ellis there. Careful going back onto the track. And
There's
my
another
goodness
car
me, it's like
facing the wrong way.
like a rush hour of company cars. All these BMWs going through turn 1 at the minute.
But yeah, I think you're right. I think it was the 420 at the start, and might have a replay of that. And that's the white and green car that is the 420, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
just a bit eager to get into that gap. Not sure what happened just seconds ago. What number is Mike Noble? He's the 1-3, so that should be this one. Yeah, that is the 3 wide that we just saw. So there's Mike Noble on the inside. And this blue and yellow car just, for some reason, very slow on the outside and then turning in pretty hard on the inside. I don't think Noble would have expected that. So, yep, that's what happened there. But still, pretty clean. As Jesse Lee, I think, just is about to gain some positions.
Did see a car go off the track at the Ascari. He should be on his right somewhere.
Not sure.
I did see the telltale of some gravel being spat on. Oh my goodness!
Oh my! What is going on here?
There's a gaggle of cars.
That is Ellis, Scott, Ryan Meenan, Bryant, Van Stone, and maybe Duet. I'm not sure, but that's a lot of cars, and they made it quite clean.
Mike Noble, that brown car at the very back of this queue of cars at the minute. But yeah, I think that was Ellis in the car at the front of this queue here. I believe.
No, Ellis is a bit further.
It's Scott then, Ethan Scott. Sorry, beg your pardon. So going on the grass to get past the guy who was overtaking. I don't know who that was. Ryan Meenan making a move on. Oh, we're gonna have another. Oh, yeah, we were. Oh no.
Oh no.
There's a bit more punch. Oh, and someone's dead.
And that was.
And that's all she wrote.
What's that? Not even sure.
As a
Oh,
fluorescent.
Lee Ward.
Oh, there you go. I think it was a bit innocent and all of that, to be honest. But
Yeah, that was, I would say, the fault of the car that went off and then just cut immediately onto the racing line over the curbs.
I tend to agree. I think sometimes, like when you, in all fairness though, like when you're coming back onto the track, sometimes in the rush, you sort of panic a bit coming back onto the track. So sometimes you don't necessarily think. I don't think people do it on purpose, but to remind yourself, obviously, to watch out for cars on the track. We do tell drivers to try and give way to people coming back onto the track, but not necessarily required to. And I think that's Mike Noble with a run on Ryan Meenan, who cuts back on the inside of him, coming into a Scari there. And that's Tom Bryant in the 42, trying to get past Vanston, and I think he's just about done it there. That's very liberal use of the track limits there for all three in front of Bryant. Dewey?
Yeah, and I mean, this is always we've seen it in all of these races, the part where most action happens. It's where the guys that started from the back are essentially cutting through the field and trying to get back into the front, and that's what we're seeing right now. That's I think Scott also started from the back, so that's, yeah, Scott. I think that's 4 cars that started from the back in total that are now going through the field, and obviously Tom is going to be left behind at some point by these guys. They're just gonna going, as we've seen that past 2 races, and Jamie Ellis, who's a bit further in front of them, is obviously not too happy that he had that accident a bit earlier, because as we saw in the standings, he still had a shot at getting onto the podium in the championship, and I think that's made it a bit harder for him at the moment, because he's in 7th or 8th place in silver, so not getting many points from that. Seeing Noble here pushing off Meenan, but I think that was kind of Killian's fault by himself. Like he just cut across very late, tried to block Noble here, and kind of sent himself off the track.
I tend to agree with that, Stu. Another point I'd make as well is obviously Ryan Meenan had moved to the right to try and cover the inside line, and then moved back to the left-hand side. So I tend to agree. There's not really much Noble could have done about that one, but racing incidents, as they say, not a problem. I don't think that the only people that have been affected are people that put it, but yeah, we can focus on Jesse Lee for the Triple Heart.
Actually, yeah, I just switched to Martin de Bond because he had an accident and he's lost quite a few places. He's in P33 now.
Big news for the Jesse Lee Championship saga.
Yeah, indeed, and he's fallen down way behind Jesse now, and he has to repair, so not sure how many. I think there's too many cars in M for De Bond to get no points. So I still don't think Jesse will actually get the championship unless he is not repairing the car and he's just quitting at this point. Which he did, which means if... Ah no, Jesse still has to win. Which...
I think Jesse's...
I forgot about that part of the winning formula here, and that's going to be hard because P1, 2, 3, and M are actually very high up in the field.
We were just about to say Jesse Lee done quite well then in scoring class for the Triple R Weenie Hut Junior team, as Basilek, Victor, and Watts all fighting for position. I think that's Stephen Hughes and John Schultz in silver behind this gang of the cars, and then I think that's Gordon Daly in the 197 just behind them. Yeah, so Daly's got a bit of negotiating to do. But you just look at this and you go, oh, how do you handle this? Like, if you're a much faster driver, trying to get past all of these cars.
And the more they fight in the front, the more cars this whole snake is collecting. Oh,
Not going free wide into Parabolica. Oh, just about made it. I think that's Jake Boswell in the pink. In the
oh
pink.
no!
And I think that's is that Boutier?
That was Boutier and Stevenson, I think. I'm not sure, but someone just lost it on the inside, and unfortunately took someone else with him. It was Martin Deswan, who also lost quite a few positions here as we're going back to the fight into T1, and 2 cars less, so actually made it through very clean.
I was going to say, I'm not sure if Marzalek's actually pulled away from this little gaggle of cars now, because that's Tom Watts' just a blobby BMW at the bottom of your screen, or just at the bottom of your screen, being chased by Jordan Daly, and then John Schultz in the car behind him, then Jake Boswell, then Richter, who's free in class, trying to make his way past Jake Boswell here. He's had a bit of a bad exit through the Del Roche chicane. Richter's having a go through Lesmo 1. If it has a bit of contact, Boswell's just going to go off the track. Then I think that's Jan Yeo in the 48 who's trying to make this free wide into Lesmo 2, which isn't going to work. There's more touring cars. These cars are like touring cars, but there's more touring cars. And oh my goodness me, we're going to go free wide into Ascari, are we? Although Yeo thinks better of it. That's Stephen Hughes in the 17 who's behind Boswell. Boswell should be able to take the position away from Richter there. Richter's gone a bit too wide, accommodating for Boswell there. And then, oh, that's a very, very good opportunistic move from, I think that's Jan Yeo in the, was it Panker, sorry, in the 778. I'm trying to work out, there's so many bloody cars there. That's a very good opportunistic move there from Panker on them. Oh, and there's contact! Oh, maybe.
Oh my god!
I was gonna say that looked way too fast to be. That's a massive crash there with I think that's Yeo, Richter, and someone else. Is that? It did hit Richter. This is more good news for Jesse Lee as another AM car is in the wall. Richter has disappeared off the screen, so Jesse Lee may be on for a podium here. As we, speaking of podiums, focus back on the top 3. I think Torvislaw's gone a bit further ahead, because I think that's Boardman 69 in front of this queue.
Yeah, you're right. As we've seen in all the other races, Borgitlo just seems like the Boothby of the GT3s at the moment in this championship, because he's just driving away. Of course, we have some of the quicker guys who are not starting at the front, but still, he's always building a good gap to the other guys, and there's for sure not slow drivers behind him with Borgman, Seven, and Verstappen. So very nice job of him, and I think we had another crash in one somewhere. Look at that, and this car already looks a bit end up there in the front, and that was the 57.
Lee.
No, that was Jesse. Yeah, Jesse slowly taking someone out here. That was not one of his competitors. He is, but now behind Richter, though, so he's slowly catching up, because I think Richter just has a very broken car. Not sure which one of the ones that had the accident there he was. He definitely wasn't the one that completely slammed into the wall, but must have gotten a bit of damage, because he's setting much slower laps now than he was doing before. And,
I was going to say, I believe that was Jan Yeo that went into the wall quite hard at Parabolica. I think Richter got sideswiped by another car. I'm going to gamble it was the 17 of Steve Hughes, to be honest. But I believe it was like between Yeo and Richter. I believe there may have been a fourth car that got involved, but yeah, I think I was going to say, like, when we saw that live, it was like they're going very quick through Parabolic, and then the camera cuts, and it's like, oh, that's why the skidding.
And this is Stevenson on the back of Henka. He looks to be a bit faster at the moment, and he just wants to get by. I think Stevenson also one of the guys that started from the back, so these two just catching up. Eraser at the front, who has already gained 2 positions, and I think he's about to gain another one if he can make this pass on Kowalski. On the outside and too wide into Ascari. Didn't quite hold the line there to actually make that, but still on the back of him, and he has 4 places to go. And it's not even too far in the front, so if he has the pace to catch up to these guys, especially Severin, Verstappen and Boardman, who are now fighting since a few laps and probably lose a bit of time, he might actually have a shot at this P3 in the championship.
Is he? Oh, yeah, Chomley's not here, is he? So I was trying to work out who he needs to finish ahead of. I was like, oh, he's guaranteed to finish ahead of Chomley. Yeah, I think this battle for P2 is looking a bit tasty though, between Boardman, Sever, and Verstappen. I think Verstappen's slowly losing a bit of ground to these two, but the thing is, like, when you start fighting each other, you do lose time as obviously. But I think these two, Boardman and Sever, need to start working together as a team, not holding each other up, just to try and pull away from Verstappen, which I think they're more than capable of doing. Particularly, as I said, if they work in tandem, not trying to hold each other up and only going for overtakes when they need to. Because if they just start squabbling now with 25 minutes to go, that's just going to invite Verstappen back into this fight. When they seem to be comfortably pulling away, then just behind Verstappen, just about in the distance, you just see him as a white dot. That's the 8 of Andrew Jackson. P1 in silver at the minute. Got a comfortable lead on rival Dan Robertson with about 5 seconds and about 3 cars between him and Robertson. Marcelek and Watts leave that fight because of obviously Daly and some other higher class cars negotiating their way through. Marcelek's managed to get a bit of a gap on Tom Watts now, not by much, but it's about 4 seconds. But there's 2 cars of Daly and Schultz, Pro and Silver respectively between them. So, top podium positions somewhere in each of the classes look quite interesting. At least it looks like a close fight. It doesn't have to be P1, it could be P2 or P3, like in between Boardman and Sever now.
And at the back, Jesse Lee actually lost 2 positions already since we last looked at them. He lost a position to Vanstone and Yaroshenko, and I don't see any contact here, so yeah, he must have just not done too great in these past laps. Maybe not even trying to defend, or maybe these other guys had some accidents before and were faster and just got pushed back a bit. But yeah, he's not going backwards at the moment. And I think all the other fights that we have at the moment are just guys catching up on the field. At the back we have Ryan Meenan here. He's pulling Ethan Scott with him through the field. And a bit further ahead we have Henka and Stevenson, who I think we're just going side by side into the second chicane here. But look, that is Torvinen. Yeah, that's Torvinen, Henka, Stevenson and Noble, who are now all fighting while still gaining on the field. That is a very close line between these 4. And I would expect that's gonna be a double 2 wide into Parabolica again if all of them make it to Ascari. Let's have a look here, coming up on the braking zone. All of them getting the braking right, cutting a bit over the curbs. Having a look at from Townend's back here. All still very close behind each other, and that looks like Stevenson had slightly better exit than Penka here, which means they're now going too wide towards Parabolica. And he's ahead at the moment, but the outside line not really favorable here, so can brake a bit later, but then has to sacrifice on the turn, and he actually gets a bit of a better run there. And I think that's him on the inside, and it looks like made this cutback work on Panka, but now Panka has the slipstream, and actually is too fast to stay behind him, and he just has no space to go. And now Noble also has no space, so it's two cars in the back just a bit too fast with the slipstream, but there's no space for them to go on the track, which means they're now side by side. But for Stevenson, he actually gains another position now into T1, so in 2 turns he gained 2 positions here, while the other cars behind him were just kind of left in the dust on the straight because they just had no space. And I think the next car behind them was, is that Killian? It's now caught up to them. No, it's not. Okay, it's still Samuel there in the blue car. But yeah, big winner of this, William Stevenson, and Noble and Panka didn't get anywhere this past lap.
I'm going to say that's a brilliant piece of racecraft there from Will Stevenson, to be honest. He boxed in a bit by Torvinen with Panka on the inside of him, Parabolica. They all swapped around for him, going through the Rettifilio, the main straight, with Panka boxed in by a slow-moving Torvinen who had a poor exit out the Parabolica. So, fine bit of racecraft and opportunity driving from Stevenson to get 15 in there as they can. On to Tom Bryant overtaking Van is it?
I think that was Ethan we just over. Yep.
Was it Ethan Scott?
Yep.
Okay, the timing tower is confused. I wonder what's happened to Ethan Scott then, because he was being towed along by Killian a lap or 2 ago. That's my memory's gotten that bad with old age, but
that was the wrong replay. But yeah, I don't see any contact with him, so I'm not sure. Maybe he's just having wrong pressures or something like that. Bit of speed there, as you mentioned.
Move back to the top 4 again, who've been very close to each other for pretty much the whole race. As we're calling you now towards Zilla for the rest of the race. Cause fun to say. Stretching his lead out, comfortable over 5.5 seconds from Sever now. Had Andy Boardman in his mirrors for nearly the whole race. I think he's overtaken Boardman last time we checked, so he's managed to get past Boardman. We last checked on
I think you're right.
These 3.
See, maybe have that overtake. Was that already the same order?
Already the same position.
Right, then we couldn't quite catch it. But yeah, you're right. Severt overtaking Boardman here. And I guess that's what lost them a bit of time when Verstappen was really close behind again.
I think he's looking at this, hoping these 2 squabble again. They don't seem. It must have been a clean overtake, because I don't think they've lost that much to Verstappen behind them. Unless you're Christoph Verstappen, you must be trying to just stay in the tow of these 2. Got 15 minutes to go. These 2 aren't going to make any desperate lunges to get past each other just yet. So I think it's just a case of Verstappen of just being patient, waiting and seeing what happens, and just picking up whatever mess. Picking up the story of what's left of any incident between these 2, if there is one. But I think, to be honest, if I was Verstappen, I'd be. Is this Stevenson and Torvinen? And that's Mike Noble just behind them. They must have got. And that's Tom Watts as well. These 3 have gotten past Tom Watts. I think that's Gogo Panka behind them. So these 3 managing to get past the Yam car of Tom Watts. They're nearly going. Now they're going too wide. Oh, no, they're not. I thought Mike Noble was trying to go too wide into the Del Rocha chicane there. Will Stevenson then just about losing out to Noble and Torvinen in front of him. But we don't know if, like, it may have been like he was trying to get past Watts and there was a bit of a mess there. But I mean, that's just natural multi-class racing. You have to manage the traffic, and you can use the traffic to your advantage when you're overtaking. It's all about that racecraft, about finding opportunities where may not necessarily be one on the racetrack. You need a little moving chicane or of a car. I think Noble and Torvinen do as they're going at it here. Though. I mean, if I'm Will Stevenson, I'm looking at this and I'm loving this because these two are just keeping me in touch. There's a Torvinen and Noble go for the parabolica together too wide. I think that's Mike Noble passed fine though, so Mike Noble now up into 14th place. Not sure what that is in class, so I think he's like 10th or 9th in pro with that.
Yeah, there's 4 non-pro cars ahead, so it should be 10. Yep. But yeah, these two guys fighting, keeping Stevenson behind them, and I think we're gonna see at least 1 or 2 more overtakes in this group here. The front of the grid has cooled down a bit. They're still close together, but not in punching distance anymore. Ethan Scott had lost 1 or 2 more positions in the meantime, but gained them back again. Struggling a tiny bit. Here we have a fight between Alice and Martin Dizwan. Alice, of course, trying to work the way back up the grid to make it into the top 3 of this race, and then in turn for the championship. Still has 3 places to go, which at this point I think will be quite hard for him because P3 in silver is on P13, and that's about, say, 9 to 10 seconds ahead of the road, and I don't think he's gonna make that in time. John Eraser here, also trying to go up the field. Still hasn't really gained any positions since we last checked at him, but he definitely got closer to Korogotsky. Now only a few tenths behind him, and from there he still has a long way to go to 3 is what he needed. So for him also doesn't really seem doable to get on the podium for the championship today. But yeah, fights all around. Still 12 minutes to go, and I just thought a car went off track, but then I remembered, wait, there's a chicane where they go left, so nothing happened there. Ethan Scott here going to get back around Tom Bryant, so maybe he just made a mistake earlier and just lost a bit of time, or maybe used the tires a bit too much just in that 1 or 2 laps, and took a while until they're back. That looked like a very easy overtake for him. I think Jesse Lee also lost another position since we saw him lose 2 already. I think it was Van Stone and Richter before, and now it's also Yaroshenko. But Jesse is still on his way backwards. We have lost 2 cars so far. I think one is the one we saw, and another one which I'm not sure that was. And this guy just does not care about anything that's happening in the field, because I think he's already won the championship at this point.
Well, that's commentator's curse then, is Stewie, to be honest. He'll probably have, what's he got now? He's got about 5 laps to go, hasn't he? 6, 10 minutes to go. It'll be about 5. I'm gonna say it, so he's got about 5 laps to go.
Right.
So But I don't think he's. I was going to say I think he's going to catch up with the 37, who's the next car up the road from him. But
Oh.
in race Tom Bryant and Bottas.
Ah, that was just a misclick. I thought there was a contact, but that was just something else. So nothing happening here. Saw the overtake from got on to Bryant, and there's that. Here we have two pink cars. That is Schulze following Boswell, and in the distance behind we saw the Noble, Stevenson, Torvinen, Penker, Brian Meenan, Matt Samuels group.
Well,
And I'm pretty sure they will actually catch up to them. It doesn't look like it because the group behind still very close together, so they're still losing a bit of time. And John Schulze not actually that much slower than these guys. But yeah, if these guys behind catch up to John Schulze and Jake Boswell, that's another fight. We will see the final phase of this race. We have a fight here very back of the grid. It's Duet and Ward. I would assume both have been involved in some of the accidents that we've already seen.
I'm gonna say if you're John Schultz, it's probably like looking in that Jurassic Park scene where you're being chased by the T-Rex, terrifying in your rearview mirror. So probably what John's looking at now is he sees a gaggle of Mike Noble, Stevenson, Torvinen, Panker, Ryan Meenan, and Matt Samuel, all bearing down on him. They're only about one on the that group headed up by Noble's only about half a second, 1.5 seconds behind him. That Tom Watt's been overtaken by Scott with a fellow Tom, this time Bryant, just behind them. Been overtaken from Scott there. Very tidy into the Parabolica. Tom Bryant, no, he doesn't necessarily need to overtake you, Scott. He's in his class. I think Tom's running save a P4.
4. He's P4, yeah.
4 in class. Pretty good day at the office with Tom Bryant so far this race. I'm going to say from near the back of the grid. That's Jake. Is that Jake Boswell's BMW there on the? Jake Boswell's actually must have made a mistake somewhere because he's behind John Schultz now. I definitely remember him being ahead of Schultz before we cut back to this group of cars.
Yeah.
Schultz P3 in class, I believe, and Marzalek in front of Schultz, about 2.5 seconds in front. There he is in the bottom of your screen in the white car. He's one in AM at the minute. Probably, I don't think some of these guys, when they see, will be, particularly Marzalek and Schultz, they probably won't be too keen to get in the way of this little fight. Further up the road from them is Jordan Daly. 10, finished like P8 in class. Overtaking Silver Dan Robertson, who's in P2 in silver. Parabolica, this should be fairly straightforward. It is fairly straightforward. Nice and clean from Jordan Daly there. From Mike Noble as well.
Yeah, Mike Noble getting by Schultz again, you're right. The previous lap, Jake Boswell did a 2-minute flat, which is around 2 seconds slower than usual laps they did, so he must have made 1 or 2 mistakes here, which brought this entire field of cars a bit closer together, but it looks like only Noble really gained from that because everybody else is still a bit further up behind on the road, as we're seeing Killian making the move on Panker. I'm getting too confused with all the pink and brown cars here. And yeah, that was just a very clean late break into T1 and making that move. It looks like this group, unfortunately, a bit further spread out. Seen previously. We have Yaroshenko making a move on Richter. Couldn't quite pull it off. Replay. What happened here? Going too wide into T1. Braking a bit later. Going around the outside. Leaving enough space. And then on the inside, unfortunately, couldn't quite get the power down early enough to make the exit here. But he kept it on the outside and is now on the inside for the next chicane. Still leaving enough space. But again, both losing it a bit on the rear there. Still side by side coming into Lasmo 1. But I think this is where he will lose out, because in this corner you just really can't go too wide if the car on the inside has a good line. And that is the end of this overtake attempt. And I guess he has to try again a bit later. Further up, Torvinen and Stevenson. Torvinen on the outside. So I think that's where Stevenson overtook Torvinen earlier. I think that was Torvinen at least. Not quite working out for Torvinen like it did for Stevenson here. Still ahead, but now the long straight. And I'm not sure how well the slipstream is working here for these GT4s, but I guess that's this, because we saw how it works, and he gained quite a lot there, but couldn't quite get it on the outside there as Stevenson. Braking a bit too late. That explains why Torvinen didn't, or why Torvinen lost so much time on the braking, because Stevenson just braked a bit too late. And that actually lost him 2 positions, because now Killian also got by him. And the next one waiting in line is Gergo Penka, who's now behind Stevenson. So Stevenson, a few laps ago, we saw him make a very good overtaking maneuver, getting I think 2 or 3 cars in one lap, and now he's kind of falling back again.
I think that's the definition of overtaking yourself from Stevenson there. Massively outbraking. So I think he got a bit distracted with where Torvinen was to the inside of him. I forgot where it was now, but either way, lost himself a position. Now his old sparring partner from earlier on in the race, Gergo Pank, is just behind him. And behind them, the Mike Noble, who's now 12. That's AM leader Marzalek, and he's gone off the track. I don't know if he was pushed off or not. I'm going to say there's no conflict, but they maybe just slow down. Oh, he just had his own little oversteer moment, which can happen when you ride the curves at Ascari like that. You don't really want to be riding the curves, particularly as you're moving right with Ascari, because that will unsettle the car, as Marcelek found out there. But either way, I think that's helped Noble get past. Actually, no, where is Noble? The timing tower's out of whack again. So I think Marzalek is behind this group of cars now.
Nope.
Blind then. And that's a 203, or 703, sorry, Torvinen and Killian Ryan Meenan, and again that's Will Stevenson just behind them. Got Gergo Panka, and then I think that's Matt Samuel in a 996 behind these 4 here, all squabbling for position. We've only got, where is Sportzilla? He's through Ascari at the minute, so we should have this lap that these lot are on, and then the next lap. So this is the penultimate lap for everyone.
And Stevenson lost, I think, another position last lap to Ryan Meenan. We saw it update as there's a black and orange flag, but for
also a meatball. Is it in the group in front of these lot?
I'm not sure, but one of these, I mean, either it's the server just showing us something it shouldn't, or one of these cars maybe has broken engine or something. Not sure why the track stewards here would wave that flag. Doesn't seem like they're doing it now. So interesting. I haven't seen that. We're going back to the front of the grid, and that is Boardman now actually trying to make the overtake on Servet here, because now it's the last lap. They have around 2.5 seconds gap to Verstappen, and he's trying to make it work on the inside here. Just barely enough space for him, not enough to actually get it done, and not enough overlap into the chicane to make that move work.
He's had a bad entry. The one Boardman here on the inside. He's not Lesmo was not really an overtaking place, but if you've already got an overlap like he has, Tevez defending as much as he can. Boardman's still there, and that's a fine piece of driving from Tevez to drive around the outside of Boardman there. Brilliant piece of racecraft and car control. Down into a scarring now. He's still putting the car in the middle of the track, making it very difficult for Boardman to overtake him. But all this is doing, Straplin's car behind them get bigger and bigger. I don't think it's... Oh, Andy Boardman's been a bit too keen to get past him there. I think that's probably it now. Unless Seba makes a horrible mistake through the parabolic is doing.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Making a bit too late. We look at our race leader, who had yet another extremely clean race, no mistakes, just starting on pole, winning in P1. We have Severt, Boutman, and Verstappen come over the line, and our silver leader, Aaron Jackson, with quite a big gap to second place. We have our leader, who's just ahead of our big group, where I think Stevenson lost another 2 positions because Penka and Samuel are now ahead of him, or they might be still fighting. Kind of are. Stevenson just losing the position to Samuel here, so he just dropped back quite a lot to all these faster guys. And Marchalek in M also winning by quite a big gap here. Ooh, oh my god.
Oh dear.
Hands might have been broken. Tom Watts here in P2 in M. Joshua Van Stone in P3, and I don't think any of these drivers that we are talking about in the standings that still had a shot at the podium actually made it. Johnny Razor, who had to finish in P3 to get on the podium, and finished on P8. We have Jamie Ellis, who I think also needed to be quite high up. Oh no, in silver it was very close with the points, so in silver, too hard to tell who actually won the championship or who were the top 3 were. And in M, we have Jesse Lee, who did not manage to win the race, even though half of his shot at the podium went out of the race quite early with was that Martin de Bond? I think so. Unfortunately had an accident. But yeah.
I think we got to see that accident.
I'm pretty sure we did, because we saw him reset to the pits.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, I think we saw the results of it. We didn't get to see what happened.
Right, I think we switched him and we just saw his hood being a bit bent and then him going in pits. But either way, that was quite enjoyable, small little championship, and we want to get Jesse in here and ask him what he thought about this race.
I can drag. We go and get him. I'll warn him.
Yeah, while Phil is getting Jesse to join us, just go standings page here. Mike Noble with the fastest lap in this race.
Okay, so
I think Noble on P10, not the one who made the most positions. I think was that last week? Was it Samuel? No. I think someone who's not here this week gained more positions than Noble did this week. And it looks like Phil is back without Jesse.
No, I'm going to drag Will Stevenson in. He's going to talk us through some of that tasty fighting, Stewie.
All right, do that.
Will, can you hear us, mate?
Yeah.
We're live on Stewie TV.
Yeah, well, I think you were one of the drivers that we saw the most this race because you were constantly in this group of Corvin, Meenan, Panka, Samuel, Noble.
Yeah,
How was that for you?
a bit nuts. I'm not gonna lie. That was probably one of the best and honestly cleanest battles ever. It was ridiculous there and so much fun. Just on every lap, we were just on the limit entirely.
I think we started watching that fight when you made the pass from the outside of Parabolica, switching to the inside, and I think that was to get past Torvinen, and then the guys behind couldn't really overtake you, even though they had the speed, because there was just no space. And then,
Yeah,
fortunately, a few laps later, you kind of started losing all the positions again that you worked for so hard before.
yeah. I kind of got left to hang out for. I got kind of left out to dry at the end there. Um, we went about 3 wide into Nesmo 1, and I just got shoved a bit left, and I lost positions because of it. Oh well, this is mainly a fun championship, and it was brilliant fun. So
Yeah, it definitely looked like fun. So, Will, do you have any questions for Will?
I think we covered all the questions. Questions for Will, but
Right.
it looked a lot of fun anyway. Will, in that
yeah,
little squabble.
yeah. Honestly, this race felt like a 20-minute race because it just went so quickly. Because we were just battling the entire race. But I'm pretty sure I had about 30 side-by-side moments. Ridiculous.
And joining us in the box now is Jesse Lake.
Hello, everybody. Will, have you talked about the two Squid Game style laps that you and I survived at the beginning of that race? That was insane.
Yeah, it
Jesse,
was
what is a Squid
mental.
Game style lap?
Well, let's just say Will and I were holding hands for about 2 laps there at the start of the race, and everybody around us kept getting eliminated, and him and I just survived somehow. It was very exciting racing.
Yeah, we kind of just managed to slide through the pack without actually dying at the start.
I'm actually pretty pleased with that personally. I didn't get quite the result I was looking for, but I didn't crash the car, and that's always the goal.
What
Yeah.
result were you looking for, Jesse? Because we talked about it at the start in the standings that you needed to finish in P1, and Martin de Bond needs to get 0 points. We got half of that because de Bond abandoned the race quite early, but you didn't get P1.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Also, I just want to apologize to I think Anderson. I spun him. I came off the turn one curb there and got him. But I mean that's
We got that
that's
on stream, Jesse.
yeah, it does happen. That's why I had it happen to me a bunch of times. But I also went very wide on purpose to keep me from being in that position. As a broadcaster, I've seen that happen way too many times. I know what happens whenever the car on the inside misjudges it, and all you got to do is leave a little extra space. But neither here nor there. I got him, and I'm sorry for that. But yeah, what I actually was more interested in because of the long shot of DeBont, I was actually more interested in beating Yarshenko for fourth place in the champ. That also did not happen. So a little bit frustrating, but top 5 in the first champ. Can't be too mad at that.
Oh, I think we actually didn't realize that you were fighting with Yaroshenko not only for the race position but also for the championship because it was quite close. But yeah, unfortunately, no red race. I think when the session switched over, it actually started to be red on the track. So the rain that Tom wanted here might happen. Still had a very interesting race to the 40 minutes. I think there was a bit less chaos than in the last race because people were a bit more careful, but still action throughout the whole 40 minutes and essentially in the whole grid, which I guess is also due to half the pro grid starting from behind and just working themselves through the field. And with that, I think we are done with this very short championship. But you're watching this, and it's still before the 14th of. I think 14th is our first race, right? I mean, but if the 14th of January is still ahead of you, then this is the time where all our championships will be starting. We have a Monday multi-class championship with European cars. In I think it's also multi-class, so it's GT3 and GT4 European cars. We have the Thursday GT4 champ, we have the Friday GT3 champ, and we have the Saturday night old championship. All the people that are up very late, and I don't think we can talk about what it is yet, but we'll also have something coming up on Wednesday. So 5 days of the week racing on the actual RCI TV channel, not on this cheap version of it, with some proper commentators like Jesse Lee himself.
Ow.
And yeah, I think with that.
Can I just say, I thought
Yeah.
you two did a fantastic job doing this mini championship, and thank you, by the way, for covering this mini champ. We didn't ever think that was going to happen. Something that we sort of wrote off fairly early on that we weren't going to broadcast it, but you guys came in and did it, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. But you can see Bill Roberts and Stewie over on the main channel, and you will do this at some point in one capacity or another. But for right now, well done, guys. Thanks for bringing us the race.
Yeah, I think especially Phil, for someone who hasn't really commented. So, yeah, hold on.
Fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun commentating with Stewie.
Yeah,
Very
it was
knowledgeable.
fun. Thank you for the little praise. And oh yeah, as usual, check out the sponsors that are not in the video description because I'm too lazy to actually do that. But they will
This
be on
is
the
an
screen.
RCI. It's fine.
Indeed, they will be on the screen afterwards. AK Informatica for the servers, Fanatec for sim racing gear, Sim Racing GP to host your own races with your community, and I'm forgetting one. Jesse, help me out here.
You got which one? You got AK Informatica. You got Driver 60.
Driver 61, right? For driver coaching.
Race.
That's it.
Got race department.
And these two, I forgot. Anyways,
Brilliant.
yeah. Have a good evening, and see you around for all the other champs that we will have coming up.
See you later.